I never thought my life would change because of a single moment, one kiss that I wasn't expecting, one kiss that came from the one person I had sworn was just a friend. My name is Emily Carter, and for as long as I can remember, I believed I had everything in control. I had my routines, my job as a teacher in a small suburban town in Ohio, and a circle of people who cared about me, including my best friend, Ryan Walker. Ryan had been in my life since high school, and through all those years, I never once considered the idea that he could be anything more than a brotherly figure. But life has a way of unraveling the truths we hide from ourselves, and mine unraveled the night he kissed me like that. Ryan and I met when we were 16, on the very first day of sophomore year. I had just transferred to Westfield High, and he was the boy who sat behind me in history class. He had messy brown hair that never seemed to stay in place, a quick smile that made everyone around him feel comfortable, and a laid-back energy that balanced out my own anxious tendencies. I remember the first time he tapped me on the shoulder and offered me a pencil because mine had rolled under the desk. That small gesture turned into conversations, and conversations turned into shared lunches, study sessions, and late-night phone calls where we talked about everything and nothing. Through the years, Ryan became my constant. When I cried over my first heartbreak in college, he showed up with ice cream and a movie marathon. When he got his first job in marketing, I was the one who baked him a cake and celebrated as if it were my own achievement. He dated other people, and I did too, but no matter what, we always came back to each other. I used to joke that Ryan was the one man I could count on to never leave me. He laughed, shrugged, and said, "That's because you're stuck with me, Em." But somewhere along the way, without me realizing it, something shifted. It wasn't obvious, not at first. It was in the little things, the way his eyes lingered on me when I wasn't looking, or the way I started noticing how good he looked in a suit when he came straight from work to meet me for dinner. It was in the way my heart picked up when he touched the small of my back as we crossed the street, or how much I cared when he mentioned another woman's name. I ignored it, shoved it down, convinced myself it was just comfort and familiarity. Ryan was my best friend. That was it. Nothing more, nothing less. At least, that's what I told myself. The night everything changed started out like any other. It was a Friday in early fall, crisp air swirling through the town as the leaves turned fiery shades of red and gold. I had just finished a long week of teaching, and Ryan insisted we go out to unwind. He had this little tradition. When either of us had a rough week, we'd meet at a small bar downtown that had live music and the best fries in town. That night, the place was buzzing with energy, the local band playing covers of songs that made the crowd sing along. We sat in our usual corner booth, sharing fries and laughing about some disaster at his office where someone had accidentally sent an email meant for one person to the entire company. I laughed so hard I nearly spilled my drink, and Ryan leaned in, his eyes crinkling in amusement. For a second, something about the way he looked at me made my laughter fade. His expression softened, almost tender, and I felt a flutter in my stomach I didn't want to name. I shook it off quickly, telling myself it was just the warm atmosphere, the music, or maybe the extra glass of wine I'd had. But as the night went on, I couldn't shake the way he was watching me, as though I was the only person in the room. When the band switched to a slower song, couples drifted to the dance floor, swaying under the dim lights. I started gathering my things, thinking we'd call it a night, but Ryan reached across the table and caught my hand. "Dance with me, Em," he said, his voice low but steady. I froze. "Ryan, we don't dance." "Tonight we do," he replied, standing and holding out his hand. Something in the way he said it made it impossible to refuse. Against my better judgment, I slipped my hand into his and let him lead me to the dance floor. His hand settled gently on my waist, and I placed mine on his shoulder. We moved slowly, almost awkwardly at first, but then something clicked. His touch was warm, steady, grounding, and as I looked up into his eyes, I felt something stir in me that I had buried for years. The song ended, but he didn't let go. Instead, he leaned down, his breath brushing my ear as he whispered, "Emily, I can't keep pretending." My heart raced. "Pretending what?" I asked, though part of me already knew. "That you're just my friend," he said, and before I could react, he kissed me. It wasn't a tentative kiss. It wasn't the kind of kiss that left room for doubt. It was deep, certain, full of everything he had been holding back for years. My knees went weak, and the world seemed to blur around us. In that moment, nothing else mattered, the crowded bar, the music, the people around us. All I could feel was him, the warmth of his lips, the way his hand tightened around mine as if he was afraid to let go. When he finally pulled back, my mind spun. I stared at him, speechless, my heart thundering in my chest. "Ryan," I whispered, but the words died on my tongue. He looked at me with an intensity one had never seen before. "I've loved you for years, Em. I just didn't know how to tell you. I thought if I said it, I'd lose you. But I can't keep quiet anymore." I stood there, stunned, every emotion I'd suppressed crashing over me all at once. Shock, fear, joy, longing, all tangled together in a knot I couldn't unravel. I had spent years convincing myself Ryan was just my friend, but deep down, maybe I'd always known he was more. That night didn't end with answers. We left the bar in silence, walking side by side under the glow of the streetlights, our hands brushing but not quite holding. When he dropped me off at my apartment, he simply kissed my forehead and whispered, "Good night, Em." I didn't sleep. I lay awake replaying the kiss, the look in his eyes, the truth he had laid bare. By morning, I knew nothing would ever be the same. The days that followed were complicated. We tried to act normal, meeting for coffee, texting about our usual jokes, but there was always something unsaid hanging in the air. Every glance lingered longer, every touch sparked with unspoken meaning. Finally, one evening when we were sitting on my couch watching a movie we'd seen a dozen times, I couldn't take it anymore. "Ryan," I said softly, pausing the film. "About the other night." He turned to me, his expression serious. "I meant every word, Emily. But I don't want to pressure you. If you're not ready, if you don't feel the same, I'll never bring it up again. I'd rather have you as a friend than lose you completely." Tears stung my eyes because in that moment, I realized how much he meant to me. I thought back to all the years he had been by my side, the way he had always known exactly what to say, the way he made me laugh, the way he made me feel safe. And now, the way he kissed me had unlocked something I couldn't ignore. "I do feel the same," I admitted, my voice trembling. "I think I've felt it for a long time. I was just too scared to admit it." The relief on his face was unmistakable, and before I could say more, he leaned in and kissed me again. This time, I didn't hold back.